morning.
I'm Robert,
I'm Rick.
and we're here today to talk with you about
Conflict specifically.
conflict management secrets.
Yes,
Are there
conflict.
really secrets?
Well, there are things that people don't ordinarily know or think about. So it's kind of like when we bring them up, they go, "Oh yeah, I didn't know that." So
Or I didn't think about it.
I didn't think about it.
Okay, then. All right. So, how do we get in talking about conflict secrets?
Well, one thing we want to point out is that we've called the show Conflict, Mediation, and You, hoping that we could give you information, about the mediation field so that you're a more savvy consumer, that you know the benefits and you know how you can best use it. But also we want to talk about conflict, because we all have conflicts in our lives. So there are certain aspects just about conflict that we could talk a great deal about. So one of those is what we've identified as 4 conflict management secrets.
So, is what I'm hearing is that there's conflict in everyone's life?
Yeah, conflict is inevitable. We try so incredibly hard to avoid it, but it's there. It's just going to happen. It's impossible to have 2 people interact with each other and not at some time. Just the differences between the 2 of us is going to lead to at least some misunderstanding.
So, as long as I'm by myself, I don't have to worry about conflict. Is that correct?
No.
So I can avoid conflict just by avoiding people.
No. You
Oh.
can't even avoid it then, as much as we might love to. No, I mean, one of the questions I like to ask, how many people does it take to have a conflict?
I'm hoping you'll say 2.
Well, everybody says 2, but it's really 1. Conflict begins with 1 person.
I get along with myself very well without any conflict.
Most of the time.
I've never had any conflict with myself.
Really? Never?
Never.
There's-
I know exactly what I'm going to do all the
And
time.
you always agree with yourself.
I think so.
Yeah. You're doubting now, aren't you?
Yeah, now that I think about it, there are a few times when there's conflict that rises up.
I don't know about you, but sometimes standing in front of that refrigerator or in front of that cake, I just love chocolate cake.
So you're saying that's a conflict?
Well, part of me wants it very, very badly. The other part says, you don't need that.
So having that mirror inside the refrigerator is helping you out.
No, not in the least.
That isn't doing away with the conflict.
No, it's still there.
Okay, all right, enough. Okay, go ahead. Conflict takes 2 people.
1 person.
1 person.
Right, 1 person. Now, what often happens is somebody, I may have said something, hurt their feelings, didn't even know it.
Okay.
They're brooding over there, they're just thinking about it, and they can't let it go. And then they come to me, hey, I'm upset with you. Now there's 2 people in the conflict, but it began with that 1 person.
Okay.
In fact, I would dare say there are people out there that are mad at you, and you don't even know about it.
I wouldn't disagree with you at all about that. So there's the potential for a lot of mediation work to be done around here.
Yes.
But yeah, I truly do understand what you're saying, because there are folks who they have issues with me, but until they let me know that, we're okay.
You don't know there's a conflict going
I
on.
think we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it takes 1 person to have a
Conflict.
conflict. All right.
It always starts that way. Then we start to get into, in every conflict, I mean, that's how inevitable it is. There are certain things that begin to happen. So when we talk about conflict management secrets, things that people don't even consider. If I'm having a conflict with you and I come to you and confront you because I'm upset about something, and like we said, you may not even know you did it. But once I've confronted you, I've already engaged conflict management secret number 1.
Okay. All right. But when you come to me with this issue, I don't care.
You may not, but I did.
But I don't care. So
I cared enough that I confronted you.
but I care less enough that I'm not going to put any energy into it. So, do we still have a conflict?
Well, we do, because the one person, right? But here's what's happened. Conflict management secret number one is people only fight about things they care about. So I've engaged you because I'm upset about something. I either care about the way you've treated me, or I care about the relationship. Usually it drops into one of two categories.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually a relationship issue or a topic, something
Okay.
policy or issue. Now I've come and engaged you, let's say, on relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because I care about the relationship and I don't want to continue to live under this shadow, this cloud of being upset with you. But if you won't engage me, it demonstrates that you don't care. It would be almost impossible for me to engage you in a conflict if you didn't care.
So, you come to me and you tell me that you have an issue with something that I've done or said.
Right.
And if I acknowledge that and engage you, then we have a conflict.
Yes.
But if I said, so, I don't care, we don't have a conflict.
No, not really. I'm stuck with what I'm upset about, but I can't engage you. You only will engage if it's something that you care about, something that's important to you.
Okay, we don't have a conflict with two of us, but you have a conflict with one of you, which goes back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
You have a problem.
Well, and that's why therapists exist. That's why counselors exist.
Anyway, back on track. Conflict secret number one is
People only fight about things they care about. Now, think about this. In any conflict that you're ever in, somebody confronts you or there's two people fighting, they could be coworkers or something that are fighting. The first thing you can be sure of is they both care about something.
And we can see this if we just observe people. If we observe little kids, there's one, or like the orange story. Remember the orange story?
Mm-hmm.
It's one orange, two kids.
Yes.
We think there's a conflict.
Right.
So we try to resolve that by splitting
Splitting
the
the
orange.
orange.
But we didn't succeed.
No. And
So we still have a
a
conflict.
conflict. We didn't
Okay.
get to the root of that problem.
Okay, so the conflict secret number one, again, is people only fight about things that
They care about.
They care about.
So think about it in your own life. There's something that you've engaged in. It's because it was important enough to you. And in each of those settings, you had the choice to either engage that other person or let it go. And because if by letting it go, you're saying, I don't care enough about that to put the energy into it. But if you can't let it go, then there's something you care about. So you engage that person.
Okay, and we see this in mediation.
Oh,
When parties come together, if there's a lot of energy in what the parties are bringing to the table, then there's a lot of caring about the issues that they're bringing.
Often a lot of energy going on, yes. So that those emotional outbursts and things like that. Let me give you an example that I often use when my youngest daughter started getting old enough to go out with her friends, right? And they kind of go out in groups around. We had a discussion in the house about her curfew time. So she and her mother wanted the curfew time to be 11 p.m. I wanted her curfew time to be 25 years of age. Because I didn't want her.
You have a conflict.
I had a conflict. Now, as you might know, I did not win that conflict. We did up it to 11 p.m. But notice, her mother and I both cared about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be our daughter's safety. I just came at her safety from one point of view, extreme as it was. Mother came to it with a more reasonable point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 p.m., but we were both arguing over the same thing.
How long did it, I'm just curious, let me go off track here for a second.
Mhm.
How long did it take for the two of you to come to an agreement around a time for your daughter to be in?
It really didn't take very long because it was the both of them trying to be very clear about how outrageous I was. But I didn't want my daughter to be, so 25 years old would of course protect her, right? Right? You see my point?
You thought, of course not.
Oh, shoot. No, it didn't take very long, maybe an hour, maybe we thought about it overnight, and then, okay, the next day, your curfew's 11.
Okay. So now earlier you said there were 4 conflict secrets.
4 secrets.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else about conflict secret number 1 that we want to share?
No, I think we're good.
All right. So moving on,
Okay.
conflict secret number 2, or you want to do 3 or 4, or we can do conflict secret number 2.
2 it is.
And that's around what I can or can't control.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that being conflict number 2. We're going to talk about after the break. Is that a deal?
That's a very good deal.
then.
We'll have our sponsors support us, and we can express our appreciation for their support, and we'll let them talk for a minute.
Okay.
10 years to learn the business. 10 years to make a name. 1 year on your own. It takes time to build a small business, but only 60 days to transform it with email marketing from Constant Contact. Sign up with Constant Contact and get 60 days of free email marketing to generate referrals, connect with clients, and build the business you've always wanted. Constant Contact. Start your 60-day free trial today.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit brene.com.
Okay, we're back, and when we left you, we said we were going to share with you conflict secret number 2. And remember, we talked about conflict secret number 1.
Right.
And that was people only fight about things that they care about.
Right.
Okay. Conflict secret number 2, you can only control 2 things.
Yourself.
And your
Attitude.
So that's
Only
all.
2.
That's-
Only 2. Those are the only 2.
And a lot of times, many times, people will have conflict because they are trying to control someone else. And we have many different ways of attempting to do that.
Yes.
We call it everything from protecting you to, well, your story with your daughter.
Right.
You wanted to control your daughter. You attempted to control your wife. That didn't work.
Nope.
So you learn.
Yeah.
You can only control 2 things, yourself and your attitude. And many of the mediations that we do when folks are engaged, that comes up, and it becomes very empowering, if you will, when they realize that. What are your thoughts on that?
I can think back to conflicts I've had, and in those circumstances like that one where I was actually trying to control someone else's behavior or someone else's response. I don't want you to be mad at me, and I get upset because you're mad at me, and I try to change their mind. So I'm either trying to change their feelings or their behavior or their thinking. I'm trying to control them. Mm-hmm. And so many of our conflicts are actually a manifestation of us trying to get somebody to do something, make them do it, or to make them stop doing something, when in reality we can't control them at all. We can only control ourselves and our attitude.
And in the efforts of trying to control, we usually make the conflict worse
Yeah.
because it only gets deeper. Now, we're not, today we won't go into a lot of discussion about issues around control,
Okay.
but in the workshops that we do, we spend a lot of time around control issues because people sometimes confuse control with authority,
Yeah.
with power, and that can get kind of really fuzzy.
Right.
But only put that out there for you to think about right now. But attending one of our workshops, we really go into issues around control, authority, and the power, and a few other things too.
Oh, definitely.
So, okay.
Drill down to. This is one of my favorite secrets, conflict management secrets. There are so many things that can be unpacked out of this concept. Once you begin to wrap your brain around the power it gives you, you're only responsible for yourself. You only can control yourself. The freedom that can bring up, but my workplace relationships, my personal relationships, and to realize that if I stop trying to control people, let them take responsibility for their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to own that. It can be. There's just so many things that come out of this one once you really drill into it.
Now this might be considered a stretch,
Mm-hmm.
but driving around Atlanta, we get into traffic situations and we display all kinds of behavior because we think if we yell, blow the horn, give signal gestures with our hands, that we're going to control the traffic, we're going to control the situation, when in fact it ain't nothing that we can do about it except how we take in the external factors that are hitting us. So
That's a beautiful example because I can think of times where okay, I'll take ownership for this one, where I've inadvertently pulled out in front of somebody. Okay,
never.
And of course, they come up behind me really fast, and then they'll tailgate, right? I've never done this. It only happens to me, right? They'll
You've seen
tailgate.
it happen.
I've seen it happen, right?
Yeah.
They'll tailgate, right? Trying to send me a message like, go faster, go faster, go faster. Or they'll honk the horn, and then they'll pull around real fast and give me, the sign languages, yes, for me. Or they'll pull up the side and then start mouthing things like, hi, have a good day. And then drive by and then cut me off, thinking that they're affecting me one way or the other, right? Because I'm just do, right? I mean, you're not having any control by tailgating me or honking your horn or waving fingers at me none of that is controlling my speed. I'm responsible for my car. You're responsible for your car. I don't have to. It has no impact whatsoever unless I let it.
Right. That's where I was going to ask
Yeah.
you. As long as you stay in control of yourself,
Yeah.
then it has little or no impact on you.
Yep.
But if you reacted to any of the things that they're doing to you,
You're giving up control.
you're giving up control.
Right. You're giving them way too much power, way more power than they actually have.
Now we're slipping into what I had said earlier about the workshop around power, authority, and control. So, but that's an example of how that works out and how it displays itself. In again, bringing it back into the mediation process, when we have parties that are engaged in the mediation, once we're able to get them to understand that, and doing that takes a lot of skill because
It does.
it's not an easy one for people to accept, because we all come up, I believe, under the illusion that we can control other people, and we really, in fact, we don't.
No.
We can't.
No.
So
Ever. The other way I see this play out is, as you pointed earlier, I end up giving up the control of myself. and I start blaming other people for my choices, my decisions, my reactions. You made me mad is often something I'll hear. No, you were hurt by what they said and you reacted with anger. That was your choice to make that decision. I will also see people get up in the morning and it's raining outside and they'll decide to have a bad day because it's raining outside. Or like you say, there'll be bad traffic. And what they end up doing is they're letting the weather or traffic define who they are. Why would we do that? Why would we let someone or something define us? And they just throw out what the one thing they can control. There are two things, themselves and their attitude.
Yeah, and again, that many times is not the easiest concept to get across.
No.
Because it's so much easier to blame someone else. You know, why should I take responsibility for myself when I can blame someone else?
It is easier.
So anything else that we need to say on that one other than really to get into all of the conflict number 2, to get to a good, clear understanding of it, we'd have to go into a lot more detail, a lot more work than what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So we're only giving you just a surface explanation, if you will, about conflict secret number 2.
Number 2.
You can only control 2 things, yourself and your attitude. And with that, we're going to let that sit with you for a moment, and when we come back, we'll take you into conflict secret number
3 and
4.
4.